Oregon Trail across the rugged landscape of North America. Your covered wagon, pulled by a team of oxen, will travel from Independence, Missouri to the fertile Willamette Valley of the Oregon Territory.
Independence.
A journey of approximately 2,000 miles. Before you set off on the trail, register your name, the names of the members of your wagon party, and your occupation. After that, you'll need to buy supplies and make other important decisions. Good luck. And you know, a game is really just a series of interesting decisions.
Important decisions.
Important decisions. America. All right, what's my name?
Your name should be America. Jimothy America.
Jimothy the doctor.
Well done, Jimothy.
And his daughter Emily.
And Zeke.
His wife Sarah. His cousin Zeke, and his other cousin Joey. There's no children here.
No?
All right, let's buy 20 oxen, 50 sets of clothing, 99 boxes of bullets, and 3 spare wagon wheels. And it looks like we have just enough.
What about spare wagon axles?
Let's see. All right, 200 pounds, 400 pounds.
Spare wagon wheels and axles and spare wagon tongues, man. Those things break.
Ugh, come on. Perfect. All right, we got everything we need.
No, you're missing the spare wagon
All
axles.
right, hold on. We'll buy 40 sets of clothes.
All right.
There, and then still some more food.
420 pounds of food. You were eating well, my friend.
You need to decide when to set up on the trail. If you leave too early, there won't be much grass for your oxen to eat. You may encounter some very cold weather and late spring snowstorms.
Given that winter never goddamned ends in this country, go in April, my friend.
Yeah, what is it? 147 days of minus or less than 0 in terms of temperature in Edmonton. This is a nightmare, folks.
I'm just, if it continues snowing, I will become a supervillain from a Bond movie, and I will dedicate my life to burning the earth.
Ridiculous.
I will call myself General Carbon.
Let's leave in August. All right, let's get going here. It's August 1848. You started down the trail with 20 oxen, 46. So a massive herd of oxen leaves Independence, Missouri, laden with clothing.
Clothing.
Wow, we're quite the ways out.
Man? Like,
it's gonna be cold, man. They were telling us you're gonna run into snowstorms and all right. I want to eat filling amounts of rations, and all right, let's get going.
You left in August.
You
were going to die.
Oh, we're coming up against a tentacle monster. What do we do?
A tentacle monster.
The tentacle monster approaches. What do you command?
That is a good question. A tentacle monster. I don't know.
All right. You reached the Kansas River crossing. All right. Well, it appears that we've stopped at some sort of plasma stream that is violently spewing energy everywhere.
It is.
So I guess we'll just continue across this thing. We're going to caulk the wagon and float it.
No. Take the ferry for money.
Oh, my finger slipped. Look, we're going to make it. We're going to make it. This is great. This was easy. Why doesn't everyone just float their wagon across the river?
Because you made it safely across. Well done.
All right, let's keep going. Let's hunt. There's a rock. Ooh, a rabbit. Oh, I suck at this.
Yes, you do.
Come on, that was a hit.
Phil is the worst hunter ever.
Okay, here we go. Buffalo or slow?
Yeah, you're getting buffalo.
I can hit buffalo.
You're blowing through your bullets at Godspeed, man.
It's worth it if I get this rabbit. Oh, I'm out of bullets. All right, how much meat did we get?
Did you use up all your bullets?
967 pounds. Nice.
That's pretty good.
All right. So I guess we should talk about one of the games that we actually make.
We'll just play Oregon Trail the entire stream.
All right, Trent. Well, you tell us what's going on with Beamdog, Neverwinter Nights, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Planescape, Torment. I will continue safely traveling to Oregon and get everyone there.
You left in August. You're dead.
No, we're fine.
You're gonna
hit winter.
Winter. You will die.
So this is the Friday Beamdog show, in case you hadn't already gotten tired of our faffing about and left.
Faffing. I've never been called a faffer in my life.
We chat about Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition, Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition, Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear, and I think that's it. Icewind 2? No, we didn't do that one.
We didn't do that one.
If you have the source code to Icewind Dale 2,
we want to talk
to you. So what's going on with Beamdog this week, Trent?
Stuff and things.
What did we do 1 year ago today?
What did we do 1 year ago
I think we launched Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition.
Did we? Oh my God.
And everyone was wild for it. Parades were held in our honor. I think the mayor came down. And Chris Avalone showed up. He was on the stream as well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Chris was a lot of fun. He's a fun guy to hang out with.
He's a fun guy to hang out with.
I ever tell you about the time Chris took me to a place called Club Rubber?
Tell me about the time that Chris Avalone, creator of Planescape Torment and writer on Fallout New Vegas, took you to a place called the Rubber Club.
Club Rubber.
Club Rubber.
Apparently this was before raves were a thing because I'm actually that old. And Chris was totally saying, hey guys, we went out for drinks and we were hanging out, having fun. And Chris was like, hey, have you guys ever been to Club Rubber? And we're like, what is Club Rubber? And he's like, oh, it's awesome. You got to see it. So we're like, all right, let's do this thing. So we piled into cars and we drove to this place, and it turned out it was this old, almost like an opera theater. And it was a cover charge at the time was huge. It was $20.
Well, you got to get into the opera.
This was in ancient times where a $20 cover was unheard of.
Back then, it was probably worth like $30.
But there's all these fancy sports cars outside, so we're like, this must be kind of neat. So we went inside, and the walls were slick with humidity, and people were dancing, and it was crazy, man. It was like the craziest rave thing I've ever seen in my life.
Can I just say I didn't expect you to finish that sentence with humidity?
That's dark, man, dark. But anyway, I ran into the largest human I have ever seen in my life.
Absolute unit. Tell me about him.
I swear the guy must have been about 6'10", probably in the 300, 320 class. His arms were bigger than my head. And I was like, you are a very large human. and liking to think that I'm a reasonably large human. Being confronted by a very large human, that was very intimidating.
Was his response simply, fee, fi, fo, fum?
No, he was blissfully unaware of me, and I was able to sneak past without attracting his attention.
So I also have a story about a large individual, if you'd like to hear it. In the meantime, I reached Fort Kearney. I just successfully crossed my second river, so you naysayers out there, shame on you.
Yeah, apparently cocking it up and floating for it can get you through.
Many moons ago, I worked at an internet cafe, and there was a gentleman that used to come in. He was about 16 years old. Okay. And he had a good foot on me. He was clocking in at about 7 feet tall. This kid, 16, probably 280 some odd pounds. He was a large youth, a very large individual. And for those of you who are not from North America, we have these things that are disgusting, and they're called pepperoni sticks.
Okay.
A pepperoni stick is essentially a long, thin tube of pepperoni wrapped in a single plastic wrapper that you strip, and then you eat it like a stick.
Yeah.
So we used to sell these pepperoni sticks, we call them hot rods, for 50 cents each at this internet cafe.
Pow.
And I think some of you already know where the story is going, but he would buy 50 of these, the cheapest, most disgusting pepperoni sticks you could buy. He would unwrap them all, group them together in basically a bundle.
A bundle.
And eat it like a much larger piece of pepperoni.
So a literal faggot of hot rods.
An actual bundle of hot rods. And it was the grossest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And I saw him do it many, many times. And he would spend like $10 per bundle on these horrible, horrible pepperoni sticks.
That is harsh, man.
That's actually where I met Cam.
I'm just thinking of what was happening to his digestive system after that, as the preservatives went to war with his internal organs.
I mean, clearly he was a more evolved human than us, because his body was capable of turning garbage into colossal amounts of mass.
I guess.
I salute you, large boy.
Large boy who ate hot rods.
So in other Beamdog news, we are still actively hiring for a variety of projects.
Wow, that was a smooth transition, Phil. You are
I'm
smooth
the king
like
of
glass.
Segues. Yeah, so we're still looking for people. I think right now the biggest role that we have open is for a technical artist. We've got a lot of big plans for Neverwinter Nights, and we need a lot of people here to help us out with that. So,
Yeah, I think the technical artist job is really someone who knows MaxScript, who knows how to go through and essentially help us rebuild parts of the art pipeline that aren't working so awesome at the moment. I have gone in and done some Max scripting. It has not been fun.
On the other hiring side, we, I think, just finished our paperwork for our new Neverwinter Nights programmer / scripter.
Yes, we have another person who just joined the team.
So
We're
we're actively staffing up for this thing. It's getting pretty exciting. We have some big plans on the horizon that I am not allowed to talk about.
I just saw Dan's eyes get really big. He's like, my God, we just hired another person. Where the heck are we going to fit them? So bunk desks. We're actually going to do bunk desks.
So
but the rule on bunk desks is the person on top cannot have hot coffee.
Now, there's a lot of unused space in offices.
Yep.
Above you, you know. There's all this space for the ceiling. There's nothing really up there other than lights. So one of the things we're experimenting with is a metal track that we drill into the ceiling to keep it in place. And then we install computers upside down. Install basically upside down chairs with straps so that you can go up there and be upside down all day long.
Well, and
very expensive.
You just shift out. I actually seriously think the best thing is programming coffins. We basically just buy those roof racks that fit on top of cars, and we put a monitor in the front, and you lay in them, and then we'll just hoist you into position, jack you in. End of the day.
I think there's a picture of a LAN party with a kid like that, duct taped to the ceiling.
Dark place.
It's either that or shift work.
There was a question of, are we open to remote work? We have a number of remote people we work with, but for most of the jobs we're advertising for, we want on-site people because the amount of collaboration is exceptionally high.
Yeah, you're going to be face-to-face chatting with people about your design all day, every day, and it's doable over Skype, but less doable.
Yeah. There was another question. Can I transfer save streams from Beamdog to Steam?
Yeah.
And
well, they should read from the same directory.
Yeah, you should be able to fire up a Steam version and fire up a Beamdog version. They should both hit your My Documents directory.
That was actually a change we had to do in the enhanced edition. So I guess back in about when Vista launched, Microsoft tried to be a lot more proactive about how applications should behave in Windows.
Yep.
And before that, a lot of applications would just write their user data to the program files directory. And Microsoft's like, guys, come on, we have user directories specifically for that. Please stop writing to program directories. So as part of making Neverwinter behave like a proper Windows citizen.
A good Windows citizen.
It now reads and writes to your MyDocs. We have legacy support for your local override and program files, but going forward, please jam all your stuff into MyDocs because that's what Microsoft likes.
Awesome. So news-wise, dev build 8167. Went out last week. We're testing a fix for the multiplayer 2x UI and an increase to the max number of characters that can be used in player names. So that's out and testing right now. We're putting a lot of work in right now trying to find the Intel issue. We're actually working directly with Intel on it. So we've got some engineers on their side that are trying to help us out, see what we can get going.
Yeah, we're kind of we got two big things on the go. So we've got like immediate quick fixes that we're working on, and then we're working on a larger patch 1, which is kind of
patch 1's a bit bigger, a bit more nebulous. It's going to involve upgrading SDL. It should fix a number of the Mac and Linux issues, and really we got a couple of hiccups on the master server that should be something we're tackling.
So it's a live project. We're going to keep fixing stuff and. Actually, this kind of ties into one of the other questions from the audience. How do you guys think the launch went? What went right? What went wrong? What do you think you need to do to get more people aware of Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition?
So I think the launch went as well as it could have, based on what we launched. We launched the game as it was with the standard definition assets, and we've basically gone through and we've made everything better from a, okay, I can do this with the shaders now. I can do this. The master server's been restored. We've opened up the code side. So I think the launch went pretty good. The downside is we always get hit by these Intel issues because when we buy machines in the office, surprise, surprise, we don't buy ones with embedded graphics. We buy developer caliber machines. And even when we do have an Intel integrated graphics machine kicking around, it typically doesn't get used much. So we do test against them, and it usually seems all right. And then when we go live, we always get surprised.
I have a theory that every time Intel refreshes their HD Iris hardware, they decide, you know what we should do? We should throw out all the drivers and just write them from scratch again and again and again and again. And then that way, every single version of the hardware will have different drivers with different levels of OpenGL support.
You're full of anger.
I have a bit
Phil.
of a chip on my shoulder. I'm sorry. It's Friday. I'm getting punchy.
Yep. So we got a feedback on the save game thing saying it does not work. Steam creates a Neverwinter Nights .0 folder if the Beamdog folder is already installed. They should be pulling from the My Documents directory. So if it's creating another subdirectory in your My Documents directory, you should be able to just go back and remap that.
If that's an issue, we'll fix it. But in the meantime, as a workaround, what you could try is move the Beamdog directory out first, rename the Steam one to just Neverwinter Nights, launch the Steam version first, then try the Beamdog one. It might be less the game and more
how Steam installs files, and
I'm not sure, but we'll look into it.
Yep.
If you're still running into the issue, please hit up QA and we'll include it in the next update.
Oh my God, there's a whole massive questions there. Here's one. Can you guys see if you can get the rights to do an enhanced edition of Microsoft's Freelancer game?
Do they? Microsoft doesn't have the rights to that anymore.
I don't know what the deal
I
is
thought
with that.
Freelancer reverted to the original creator and he kind of open sourced it, did he not?
So ultimately, the enhanced editions were something that we did around IPs and tech that we knew, and that we knew inside and out, and we totally got what we could do with them. So the real question comes down to attacking games outside of kind of our core capability. I don't know if we'd be chasing that down. I think we'd focus on doing the stuff that we know.
Actually, I think I remember we got, was it Freelancer? Or maybe I'm thinking of Free Space. I think I'm thinking of Free Space.
Free Space, yeah.
Free Space. Descent Free Space is the one that went open source. Freelancer was the one that had the dope mouse-based cockpit controls that they designed that were really interesting and new for the age.
Yep.
That's right. I remember PC game history.
Here's a question. Is it possible to fix the list of pre-generated characters and some predefined characters appear in the list of those created? This is annoying because I only want to see characters I create. This is not possible because some of the pre-generated characters appear in the list with the check active on hide pre-generated
the
characters.
ask here is, can I filter pre-gens?
Yeah, and they should be filtering, but it appears that they're not. So that would be a bug. That should be entered into said bug database and
we will
dealt
take a look
with.
at that for you.
Here's a question and a compliment. Thank you for breathing new life into Neverwinter Nights. You are welcome. We don't get thanked a lot. We get yelled at a lot. So thanks has like 10x the effect of the negative.
Oh, speaking, there's a question about the toolset.
Hey, I'm totally answering this question still,
right,
man. Any chance you guys will maybe allow us to create custom classes and stuff in the near future? Also, sound tends to be an issue in the game toolset. Any word on that bug? Toolset, we're still fighting with it.
But we just got it compiling again, and
yeah, we got it compiling in a newer version of the software that it chipped in. So
we said that the last few streams, but now it's in a state where we should be able to show it off in the very near future. It's going to look different because in the new compiler, it's got a whole new GUI system.
Yep.
So the layout will be the same, but you're going to see some slight UI adjustments.
Yeah, and as far as creating custom classes and so on, right now that's mostly dependent on the Neverwinter extender, which the team is working away on. Going forward, that's one of the things we want to really open up, and at the moment we haven't designed the right way to do that yet. So working with the Neverwinter extender group, we will be opening things up. Question. Any news on the Gold Box EE front? Gold Box, we haven't dug into that. There's what I would call sticky licenses in terms of there's a whole lot of people in the party and a whole lot of fingers in the pie.
And when you say an enhanced edition of the Gold Box games, I think what you're really asking for is, can you just make new gold box games?
Yeah, so I responded to an article recently about remakes and so on, and to me this is a remaster. So what we've been doing is the enhanced edition is remasters. We go in and we take the original code and we keep it working like it was originally intended to work. Even if there's some weird bugs that become standard kind of things, we keep those in there. A remake is when you take new tech and remake an old game. In many cases, you don't capture the same original feel. The game actually changes a fair bit because you can't duplicate the way the old code used to exactly work. So grabbing something and reimagining it in a new engine, remake. Taking original code and HDifying or adding new things, totally remaster. So that's my fight on those languages.
So while I'm playing Planescape Torment here, just to give you guys an update on that 2.5 patch. So we pushed out the BGEE loc update last Friday.
We did.
And it's going well. People are checking it out. We got some new loc features in there. This week, it looks like we're going to have an interim patch for Siege of Dragonspear that is actually looking pretty good. This is an out-of-order patch to address an issue on Android, but it's looking pretty good. So the plan is still on course for 2.5 starting to ship this month. And as I mentioned on the previous stream, some of the games might leak into early next month, but you're going to start seeing 2.5 this month.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that 2.5 has taken us so long is it's just kept growing. People start fixing more bugs, and then you're like, well, I've got the code cracked open. I might as well just add a couple more fixes in there, and it just keeps moving forward.
Yeah, so we're really trying to nail down our stability in this update. So we've got a whole bunch of analytics features that we're going to be using to lock down and isolate any new crashes that come up. So the name of the game going forward for IE is stability, compatibility, and not rocking the boat with huge major changes after 2.5.
Yeah, and hopefully not breaking things.
And hopefully not breaking things.
So we're going to give away a prize. We're going to give away a Planescape soundtrack Steam key. So the winner of the Planescape soundtrack Steam key is Ms. Agile. M-I-Z-Z-A-J-L. Tau, you have just won a soundtrack.
I want to briefly talk about...
And it's actually a sweet soundtrack. I don't want to hear what you want to talk about. I got lots of questions to answer here.
Torment, a game we sell.
Oh, but I got so many questions.
All right.
You guys going to be
at E3? I'd like to buy you beers. I'm sorry if that's not what you actually sound like, but that's just what I read it as.
No. Actually, Cam and I probably will be at E3, but we're probably not going to be on the main show floor. We're probably just going to be hanging out nearby and meeting with friends and business partners.
I'm going to be at home playing Skyrim VR because it's pretty dope.
It is pretty dope.
I wanted to talk very briefly about my love for the procedural generated textures in Planescape Torment. So if you get in real close here, you can see this wavy junk everywhere on the ground, on the walls, on everything in this flippin' game. There is some sort of procedurally generated texture. And in 1999, or I guess 98 when they were developing this thing, that was a really badass way to add a lot of detail and handcrafted feel to your levels.
That was when you were... To make textures like that, you had to be like the twiddler.
Yeah.
So you had to go in and you had to twiddle settings and get it just right. And Mr. Tim Donnelly was a brilliant at twiddling.
I really appreciate how they stretched that art budget to the absolute maximum that it could go with.
Oh, and they got some gorgeous results out of it. It was pretty awesome.
What I don't appreciate, though, is that recreating this exact look is a nightmare.
So, yeah, trying to regenerate the idea of procedurally generated textures from that era, you have to go back and not only do procedural, but you have to do it so they're similar to that era.
Yeah.
So I got another question here.
That's my pain point.
People keep saying which EEs they would like to see, but what games would you guys like to enhance and re-release? That is a good question.
That is a good question.
What game would I...
Well, I think we've talked about this a few times. Fallout was always at the top of our list. Fallout 1 and 2.
Cam's a huge Fallout fan. I kind of missed the original Fallout. And then Fallout 2 came out. And it was a little buggy when it launched.
Arcanum, of course. Who doesn't want Arcanum EE?
I don't.
That's true. I don't think anyone's ever actually asked us to do Arcanum EE. There's
people
not a lot of interest there. It just wasn't a beloved game, and it seems like the fans actively hate any attempts to bring it forward.
Yeah.
So we were minutes away from pulling the trigger on Arcanum EE, but then the fan response was so negative.
Yeah, as you can tell, Phil and his sarcasm runs deep. I was a huge MechWarrior fan. I loved Mech.
Mech Commander. I want to make Mech Commander.
No. I want a MechWarrior action game where I'm running around blowing stuff up. I want an awesome one.
So what are your thoughts on that MechWarrior MMO? Does it scratch the itch?
No.
Doesn't scratch the itch?
The MechWarrior MMO is basically 2 lines of opposition form, and the first person to step a millimeter past the others gets fired on by everybody on the other side and dies in a smoking, fiery death.
But hey, if you're a fan of revolutionary warfare, what an experience.
That, yeah.
I as I said, Mech Commander, I was a big fan of that one. More realistically, and this is kind of a more obscure title, I think Silent Storm would actually do fantastic today as an enhanced game. Silent Storm was this super, super weird turn-based tactical game with like destructible terrain, and it's just like alternate World War II.
Yep.
And it was really, really clunky, and it came out at kind of an awkward time. But man, an enhanced edition of that game would be rad. There was like mechs. It had all sorts of awesome grenades. You could like collapse a building on someone. I just haven't seen a game exactly like that.
I love the idea of collapsing buildings on people.
It's a lot of fun. So I would love to take Silent Storm, do an enhanced edition of that. Good. I'd also love to port that game to mobile. Silent Storm on tablet would be fantastic. And I'm sad.
You're basically probably giving away a great strategy to another competing company.
Whoever remains from Nivell Entertainment or Interactive from like way back in the day, if you're out there, guy living in Poland, please contact me and we'll work something
out. Here's a question. Why can't I scale my interface in Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition? One is fixed.
What resolution are you at? We're looking into dynamic scaling, but right now it's locked to 1x, 2x, and it's based on your resolution. So if you're at 1080, you can't go higher than 1x.
Yep.
But any resolutions above that, you can start changing the scale. But again, the hope is that we'll have dynamic scaling in the future for that. So
I'll leave this question for you, Phil. I'll get
Why
it.
is the GOG community so passionate? Were they...
That's not the word I read there, but were they not held enough as a child?
Are
they representation of degradation of society as a whole?
I think the GOG community is a very important force in PC gaming because they're the voice of let's preserve what was there. And I think that's an important voice to hear.
Well, if you think about what GOG does, good old games. So they do good old games. They sell them relatively cheap. And if you look at what we do, we take good old games and we make enhanced editions out of them, and we charge a little more than that. So, I mean, I can see the logical argument of, oh, well, I can just buy the original game and get a similar gameplay experience. Why would I pay $10 extra to get this enhanced edition? And I understand that. There's logic there, but we definitely try to make enough value that it's a worthwhile proposition to upgrade to the newer version. And
different people have different perspectives on how much is enough, but like I appreciate the voice of GOG and RPG Codex as being sort of the second opinion of like, did you do enough?
Yeah,
are you meeting the fans' needs?
I think the big thing is they keep us honest, if nothing else.
Yeah,
and periodically they provide comedic relief. Where we
think of how relaxed and easygoing we would be without these communities. Our lives would be terrible. We would have no passion or drive. There would be no rock crushing down on us. There would be
no time sitting there sobbing into your beer, going.
So that's right. If you're an angry internet forum poster who hates our guts, I want you to know that hate sustains me, and I appreciate your effort. If you stop, I would have to stop as well.
Here's a question. A while back, I asked you guys about releasing design docs. You said you'd look into it. Any news? That actually got dropped, like a hot potato.
So we're having a little trouble tracking down exactly who to ask about that because we have the book. We've got the thick book.
We've got the thick book and we've got the thin book. So let me dig into it. I will personally look into it and see what I can do. So we're going to switch over to
tweet photos of it illegally. So
here's another question. Currently, no hack servers are limited by the 16K resource limit in Neverwinter Nights modules, forcing larger servers to delete old content before making new. Raise that limit. The way I look at it, anytime we can go in and change a number and make things better, we'll totally do it. The reason we wouldn't do that is because there's some horrible monster lurking behind that number. So, again, let us look into it, see what we can do.
I love the way dwarves run in Neverwinter because they're in such a hurry. It reminds me of the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland.
Halflings are the same. Like, we basically came up with movement speed to keep your party together, and that meant that dwarves had to cycle their little legs a little faster, and halflings too, gnomes too.
I mean, it's true. In real life, dwarves and halflings do have to move quicker.
Well, we're like, well, let's do racially correct movement speeds. And then we thought about it, and it's like, okay, that would mean that the party is always running apart from each other. You're always waiting for the halfling and the dwarf. And everybody hates the gnomes already anyway. So, I mean, it would just be worse. There would
you
be even
hate
more.
the gnomes.
Everybody hates gnomes.
I'm going to tell Jacob that you said that because he's going to be sad now.
Well, Jacob's the only gnome that I'll tolerate. How's that?
That is the highest praise that he could hope for.
I have an issue with headphones for your 3D sounds in Neverwinter EE. Sounds located on the left is played on my right, and vice versa. Feels like everything is inverted. That was an issue that was tied to the camera that may have been fixed in the recent patch. So that's another thing to take a peek at.
So with your headphones, is that like a USB hardware thing that's emulating a sound device, or is it just regular audio output? I guess more information would be helpful.
Yeah, let's, as opposed to a debugging channel, this is a live stream. So let's move this offline.
Let's head over to Redmine and start digging through some PDAs.
Oh, echoing sentiments that this breath of fresh air for Neverwinter is much appreciated. Thank you. We always like happy words. They make us feel good.
Yeah, that
just wanted to make you guys are aware and working on EE-related sound issues. Problems with headphones, place sounds played in the tool set leading to crashes or odd pauses. We had to gank the sound engine that was in there, and we replaced it.
Kind of the big piece of work we had to do before release.
So there were nightmares, and it's going to take us a while to sort it all out, fix all the problems, but it's something we're going to keep working on and keep stepping it forward.
Yeah, that ripping out the Miles and Bink stuff and replacing it with SDL was a large piece of work that touched many, 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 many parts of the engine. So this is just sort of the outcome of that, us finding the little twiddly bits that we missed.
Here's a question. Whoa. Dan scrolled so fast I couldn't read the question. Phil.
Phil, you mentioned playing with the camera. Limits for quasi-FPS view. What settings exactly? So as I haven't played with it since we added the feature, but as I understand it, there's the I&I setting that you can change, which lets you zoom in. Now, if you're seeing the inside of the model, you might need to...
You have zoomed in too far, and you are in the bits that make up the character.
Yeah, you might need to do some fooling around with turning off that texture. If there's not a way to do it right now, let me know and we'll figure it out for you.
You can put 0 parts in for the character. Or another thing
ideally,
you could do.
You shouldn't have to modify
like
the game.
Realistically,
you should be able to just zoom in like this into the head and you'll get first-person view. So if that feature is not working for you, we will fix it.
So, Phil, you're so optimistic.
What are we going to do? Not fix it?
We'll come up with a way that you can get a first-person-like view.
Well, there is a way because you can. That's what the I&I.
So we're going to give another prize away, another Planescape soundtrack. We're going to give it to So 8 Cool.
So 8 Cool.
So 8 Cool.
Can you give us a vague tease of what new character assets might be released this year? Can I give you a vague tease?
His name is Vague Tease. This is Phil, Vague Tease, Daigle.
Well, you guys, so you saw the player character that we released a little while ago.
Yep.
Those are still in progress. All the player models essentially are getting redone. So imagine that model that you saw before and just imagine a dwarf at that level of quality. And there you go.
Imagine a dwarf. I'm imagining a dwarf. Will you be at Gamescom in Cologne? Probably not. If you look at the game industry, you could spend every week traveling to another conference and getting no work done. And from my philosophy, we need to get lots of work done because we've got a ton of work to get done. So we limit the trade shows we go to. We only go to about 2 or 3 a year. And we go usually in a pretty limited capacity just so that we don't spend all of our time chasing trade shows. And actually, instead, we favor getting work done.
They don't let me go anymore because I wasn't really helpful.
Phil,
Speaking of huge leeches, look, I'm stabbing one right now.
Wow, that was a brilliant transition. So what's the next thing in the pipeline for Neverwinter EE that you can see fans getting excited over?
I'm not allowed to say. I wanted to talk about it today.
Phil wanted to talk about a new thing, but I wouldn't let him.
I had a thing written up. It was all...
He has a page.
Look,
it's here. I still have it.
You gotta make sure the bit rate's too low.
See, you can see it?
Wait.
Yes.
Do you realize that now they are going to be able to suss it out?
No, our stream is at low enough resolution. I moved it fast enough that nobody will see it.
That sounds like a challenge.
Use your enhance in Photoshop. Oh, God, I'm a bad man.
All right. My resolution is 1680 by 1050. Is the scaling the reason my in-game videos and logo are very small and not full screen? Yes, so right now, if I jump out of this game real quick here. So in the main menu, I'm running 1080p right now, and you can see that it's not letterbox, but it's inset. So this is going to continue happening until dynamic scaling comes in, unless you're at a higher resolution, in which case you could accommodate 2x. Ideally, you would be able to do like 1.2x, and then this is no longer an issue. So that's what we're currently working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ties into the next question, which was, will the issue with missing Polish symbols in the 2x scaled UI be fixed in the next patch? I guess it doesn't directly correlate with that one, but it's likely that, yes, we would fix that.
As we become aware of things, they will get fixed.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how about we head over to our Trello board for Neverwinter Nights?
Yeah, we haven't looked at that for a bit.
Do that. Right. Trello, Neverwinter Nights. All right, so this is our Trello board where we track all the stuff that's going on with Neverwinter Nights. We have a public Trello board where people add a bunch of stuff, and then we have this Trello board where we adopt certain things and move them into different categories.
And the stuff we are working on.
Mm-hmm. As well, you can see in the patch archives, we've got what shipped with each patch. So, for example, 81, 65, and 66 fixed clipping and popping on some music tracks, fixed distortion and crackling on music. So there's quite a bit of stuff going on, and you can dig through the history.
Yep.
For those of you who perhaps did not see some of our previous streams and were not aware of some stuff that we teased, here's old Erebeth standing next to New World Erebeth. This Erebeth on the right is a work in progress that we whipped up in just a couple of weeks here to test out the new high-res graphical options that we've added to the game. So we're pretty jazzed about this, and you're going to start seeing some cool stuff in the future.
Yep. Here's a question. The old sound engine played 160-bit sampled music. Now those are sounding bad. Will I need to resample those, or will that be fixed?
You shouldn't need to resample. The stuff that worked before should work now. We just need to fix it on our end.
Here's another question.
Ooh,
any time frame for 64-bit Neverwinter Nights?
As soon as humanly possible.
As soon as it gets done.
One of yet another thing that we are currently actively working on.
Yeah, the big challenge on 64-bit is it touches so many pieces of the engine. And there's spots where things are encoded as a byte. Those will need to be changed. There's spots where suddenly an int goes from a 32-bit int to a 64-bit int.
And it's easy.
It really becomes bad when it's addressing files or anything that touches that. So having already done the BG from 32-bit to 64-bit with the Infinity engine, we know the amount of hassle that's there, and we're slowly stepping through it. And it's going to take a bit of time.
The tricky bit is that as we step through it and convert things to 64-bit, we see opportunities where it's like, hey, well, if I'm doing this here, I know people want this exposed. So,
since I'm changing a number, why don't I just change it to a slightly bigger number?
So it's easy to get bogged down in that sort of thing. So we're trying to stay focused on the 64-bit target, while also trying to serve some of the community's needs for opening up the engine.
Here's a question. Will you work faster if we send food or drugs, or does that make you soft and sluggish?
I mean, if it's cough syrup, yes, I'm going to be very soft and sluggish.
We're actually, most of the people in the office are reasonably well fed. So I don't see starvation or rickets or scurvy being a problem. I think we're good there. On the drug side, I think everybody is caffeinated to the legal limit, because our coffee machine, she's had a hard 4 years, man. It's almost time to replace it.
Although, do you remember when we were in LA a few months ago pitching Project X? And on the last day, I got the world's worst flu. So I was popping like cold and flu tablet like after every single meeting. And I was top form. So if you guys want to send methamphetamines.
Phil was lifted up until he was going to break. Yep.
I grabbed his wrist and made him sign the contract.
Yeah. You will sign the thing with the stuff and give us the money.
Afterwards, it was like 4 a.m. and my heart's still pounding. And I'm like, this is weird.
So here's a question. Are you working on the back grades from add-ons to basic game, like full access to the luggage of companions?
Oh, yeah.
So
that stuff.
Inventory access to companions is something we want to enable. The real question for us is the right and best way to do that going forward. So again, this is just a design thing. We just have a design meeting specifically with coders there and with design there and figure out exactly how we want to attack it. And then how to actually get that stuff working in previous versions of the main campaign, Wailing Death, and then Shadows of Undertide.
All fun games.
Any chance you can change it so the function key number stays on the quick slot after you assign something to it? Currently, it disappears after you assign a spell, item, or ability to it. That should be a request.
Quick slot after you assign something. Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
I did not know that was happening.
Yep.
Meanwhile, while you're still answering questions, I'm just taking a look at the Neverwinter Nights workshop.
There's a lot of stuff coming up in the workshop. Hey, Symphony Shields. I met Symphony down at GDC. We managed to grab a quick lunch together. He's a swell fellow. Here's a question. Would it be possible to remap keys to mouse side buttons? Currently, the game engine doesn't recognize them.
It should actually be a pretty easy thing to add. I think at the time when Neverwinter shipped, that wasn't even a concept.
Yeah, there was a mouse button and another mouse button and maybe a mouse wheel. And the mouse wheel was optional. So it's something we can take a look at. Again,
to the list.
Best way to do it is start a discussion on the message board and get it put onto the Trello. Here's a question. Please announce Project X today. No.
Why not, Trent?
Because.
All right. Well, fair enough. That's a good reason.
I've called so many different things Project X, and so many of them have been experiments that went to the wayside that Project X to me is this mutant, deformed, Frankensteinian monstrosity living in a closet.
We've got a lot of interesting stuff that we've investigated, spent some time working on, and ultimately decided there are better opportunities out there. Or this was the wrong opportunity for us.
Or it was the wrong time for that opportunity.
But Sword Coast High. That was our...
that was the stuff.
That was our crowning achievement.
That was our crowning achievement. It's T-shirt time. We are going to give away a T-shirt to a fellow named GW3. GWW3.
Good World War III to you as well, friend.
That's not how I read it.
Well, I like acronyms. I like coming up with acronyms. You know, when I'm driving around, I see a license plate. I come up with, what do those 3 letters mean?
Here's a question. Is it possible to add a reload resource button to the toolset? It's really boring closing and starting Aurora every time where I make little changes in assets. There should be a refresh button in there. Isn't it 5 kick off a build, and doesn't that pull new resources? Because I remember us doing that and having it refresh. I think there's a way to do it.
I'm really fond of this next question. Guys, you have to try the Persistent World Sinfar. It's got a lot of possibilities and ideas and what you can do to add new features.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you try Sinfar and you get a list of the things you want to do, put them up on the discussion board, and push them to Trello, and we'll put them up there. Full
disclosure, Sinfar is an adult Neverwinter Nights server, so if you're underage, please do not go to Sinfar.
Yep.
But actually, Sinfar did actually add quite a bit of stuff. They added climbing. They added, I think, did they add swimming? I don't know if they added swimming. I know they've added climbing because I remember seeing the dude being able to scale the wall. But they've added a whole bunch of crazy stuff. The ability for two characters to interact with one another in various animations. They have done quite a bit of extensions to Neverwinter Nights, and you should go check out what they've done if you're above consenting age.
And you want to go there. Please
go
announce Project Y.
Why?
Why?
What is Project Y? I thought Project Y was Dragonspear.
It was.
Yeah, all right. Announcing today, Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear out now on mobile and desktop.
Patow!
You got your wish, buddy.
Yep. Here's a question or a statement, I guess. Is there a known issue with the workshop where you subscribe to an item, it downloads, you access it in the game the same day, but when you load Neverwinter Nights, you no longer have access to the subscribed item, i.e. heads. One day, I had a head. The next day, my head was missing.
So
off with his head.
If it's reported, we will look into it and fix it. If it hasn't been reported, it might be unique to you, in which case we will need some additional info, but we will make sure that we address that problem for you, friend.
Here's a request for Neverwinter Nights X support for Windows servers. Should be the highest priority, ETA. Neverwinter X isn't done internally by us. We're enabling the volunteers who are doing it. So the right way is to say really happy things to the Neverwinter Nights X developers and ask them if there's anything you can do to help.
It should be coming in pretty short order. We've done most of the things that they need us to do. So it's in their court now, but it seems like they're unblocked on everything that they need. Question from the audience. When will we see a new good AAA Dungeons & Dragons game? The last game like this was Neverwinter Nights 2. Probably 2019, I would say.
End of 2019?
Around there, yeah.
I don't know. We're just making dates up. We are bad people. We are bad people. You'll see a new good AAA D&D game when somebody really good gets around to making a really good AAA D&D game. I'm not sure when that will be.
It's killing me right now, Trent.
I'm sure it is.
Killing me with your words and actions.
I'm in love with the concept of killing you slowly, Phil, with my words. When World War III comes, will Canada be safe? Especially Beamdog.
That's actually why we chose Edmonton. Geologically inactive, no natural resources worth getting, too cold to live here. 147 days of below zero temperatures.
Below zero centigrade, that is.
It would be like invading Russia in the wintertime.
Yep.
Not going to happen.
And no one has the willpower to confront the Saskatchewan Liberation Front.
A bunch of bedraggled Americans coming north, clawing, please,
zombie-like,
let us turn back. The attrition is too high.
At which point the Saskatchewan Liberation Front takes them down.
Yeah. Can you guys do Windows Enhanced Edition? Yes, so we're going to take Windows 98, and we're going to make an Enhanced Edition of that. And we're going to call it Millennium
Phil will be
Edition.
the lead developer on that, and he will be working the rest of his natural life on that.
We're going to wrap it up in QEMU.
Are you guys playing tabletop D&D? If so, what edition? Yes. We have a group in the office, which sadly does not include me because I cannot spare the time. But
also, you have a tendency to start like attacking other party members.
No, I don't. Our internal team is actually playing 5th Ed, and they're having a hoot with it.
No, well, they are, but they had a one-off last time. They were playing the Fraser RPG.
The Fraser
RPG.
Oh my god!
I believe Alexi was playing a level 4 Niles. And she invested most of her skills into sherry, and so she could like splash alcohol into people's eyes. Eddie is a skill that you can train in, and it's a hoot. So if you're a fan of mid-90s mediocre sitcoms starring Kelsey Grammer, and also a fan of tabletop role-playing games, there are few games better.
Described a very small Venn diagram, my friend. A very small Venn diagram. You mentioned that you needed to get in contact with the developer of Witch's Wake to finish the story. Did you hear back from anybody? Yes, we actually spoke. Well, not spoke. I emailed back and forth with Rob Bartel, who was the writer and did most of the scripting on it. And he actually sent me over some documents on what his plans were with it. And we have those documents. But sadly, we don't have the time or effort to chase that down at the moment.
I guess we could put them online and let you guys make Witch's Wake too. You guys want to do that? You want to make Witch's Wake? Witch's Wake? Which is week 2?
Here's a question. What takes up all of your time, Trent? That's not true. Actually, most of my time is spent in the office just keeping the wheels on the train as she's chugging down the track.
There's 2 holes in the back of my head from him sitting there angrily
staring at the back of Phil's head saying, and once in a while I will actually virtually click a mouse through Phil.
It's a painful experience.
I do, whenever I get some free time, I head over to my shop and I do some blacksmithing. At this moment, I am stabilizing some wood to be used as handles. And I got a couple chef's knives on the go because I made them out of hard steel, so I thought it'd be cool to make a couple chef's knives out of it. So it's 1095 and 52-100 ball bearing Damascus. It should be pretty cool stuff. The other thing is I have a dog. A puppy. Puppies take so much time. I literally spend most of my time sitting in the kitchen with the puppy.
Just sitting there staring at him.
As it periodically tries to bring me some toy and slobbery toy and stick it in my face.
You know, Trent, with a dog like that, you got to play with it every day.
Yeah, dogs. Oh, here's some feedback. Just want to say you guys are making amazing work. Got every version of every D&D game ever released so far. I loved what I see with Neverwinter EE and how it's reactivating the community. Thanks. You are so welcome.
You have Demon Stone? You own Demon Stone.
Demon Stone?
Isn't that, or was it Demon Stone?
No, it wasn't Demon Stone.
What was it
that
called?
was a different game.
I thought it was Demon Stone.
No,
Somebody in the audience is going to be like, it was Demon Stone. Phil's right. Phil's always right.
Phil's rarely right. Here's a bit of feedback. Trent, please smith up a gnomish battle pick in your forge. Thanks.
So like a little tiny...
That's my problem with gnomish stuff.
It'd be like a rock hammer from Shawshank Redemption. You
know so I set out to make a 10-inch chef's knife. It's 11 inches in blade length right now, and I'm kind of happy with that. So I tend to upscale things a little bit. So the idea of downscaling is actually kind of sad to me.
Interesting.
Here's a question. Will you be appearing in the upcoming D&D movie?
Maybe. So we're going to try and wow people in the near future here with our role-playing abilities and skills.
And our stunning good looks.
If that works out for us, then maybe they'll just be like, you, in the audience, join us. And
we need someone to die painfully in the background from poison gas.
So I don't know where it's going to end up once they're finished editing it, but about an hour in, let's say, there's the scene where the dragon's sort of racing down the street in the middle of the city, and it very quickly goes past the audience. And if you look really, really closely, you can see Trent jamming a knife into my forehead in the background. Blink and you'll miss it, but it's in there. And maybe they'll cut it, maybe they won't. I don't know.
Probably.
I'm not privy to the ways and means of editing films, so I could be speculating.
Here's a question: is the team working on refining the pet summon AI? Playing a character that uses mostly summons, I noticed they get stuck around corners and generally take a few seconds to react to pet commands.
So what is the tick rate for their pathfinding for summon companions?
The tick rate in general for AI updates are running usually about every 3 to 6 seconds. Sometimes they'll run at 1 hertz, sometimes they'll run at 6.
So if we crank that tick rate up, it might
crush performance as well. Yeah. I mean, one of the things we got to do here is figure out where Neverwinter is slow in the various scenarios where it's being utilized.
Well, so we know where it's slow.
Online persistent world, slow, versus single player, slow, versus multiplayer over the internet, slow. So those are kind of the 3 things we need to balance. And what we need to find out, are there commonalities between those 3? And based on where it's slow, are there code optimizations we can go in and improve to make everything run faster? And then once we've kind of done these core optimizations, we can go back and look at systems and say, okay, the AI tick rate is really low. Can we bump that up? Can we bump it up just specifically for companions? The pathfinding, can we bump that? What are the options? And pathfinding is one of the things we're actively looking into. It's huge. Pathfinding is literally huge.
You'll hear us say that a lot. We're actively looking into it, and it's true. The issue is that we're actively looking into like 30 things at once. So there's a lot of stuff to do with Neverwinter Nights, and we could probably be working on Neverwinter Nights for many, many years and still have a vast amount of things that people want.
So here's the thing. A bunch of questions got posted. Is it possible to fix the 4K/UI scaling bug on Linux in the near future? Yes. we're going to be working on that. That shouldn't take us too long to come up with a fix for.
When are we going to see Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition on GOG?
So we've been emailing back and forth with Mark. Cam and Mark got to sync up, figure some stuff out.
It's boring biz dev stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
ultimately lawyers are slow. Well, they're not slow. They're expensive and busy.
It's not usually lawyers. Like, usually we have to figure out exactly how things work first and then kind of roll with it. Now, it'd be fine if GOG was just another portal like Steam, but GOG negotiated some rights with Neverwinter with Atari back in the day, so they don't really want to just move to EAE, but at the same time, it's a mess. So we'll figure it out. We'll get it sorted.
Imagine a 64-person deathmatch FPS in an extremely small map. That's what it's like doing contract negotiations in the games industry.
Yeah.
Question from the audience. Any chance you'll ever publish all of the Infinity Engine games soundtracks on Spotify in the near future?
That's a good question.
So we I think we looked into this in the past because we also wanted to put them on iTunes as well.
Yeah. Ultimately, our rights are specifically around releasing versions of the games, and the soundtrack can be released as in concert, DLC, but not as a separate entity. So.
Because you can get it as a piece of DLC on Steam, it counts as being available there.
Exactly. So it fits into the same category. Another question. Will you implement grapple rules? The question is which grapple rules from which rule set?
Well, there's a fair number of skills in
or even variant grapple rules. Grappling's one of those things. It's...
I'm not going to suggest any skills here, but I am curious what the audience would like to see in terms of skills that Neverwinter never implemented.
Or skills or feats.
Skills or feats, yeah.
Yeah. And classes even that we never implemented.
I guess it's true. We really want to know, like, what prestige classes were you always really sad that never got implemented, skills, feats, that sort of thing. Yep. We've got a little internal list of stuff that we're adding to, and we've already reached out to segments of the community, but this is just kind of a general request for what have you been really sitting on for a long time in terms of feats, classes, mechanics, that sort of thing, and we will consider them.
Here's a question. What's with the lack of hats on Phil today?
Oh, you think I'm not wearing a hat? That would have been gross.
That would have been really gross because you would have actually ripped the skull off. We are totally not going to scalp Phil on the show.
But what we will do is close this mother down because
yeah. So we're out of time here. Wrap-wise, we are hiring. We continue to hire programmers. We are continuing to look for the right technical artist who can help us work on the Neverwinter export plugin package, and then as well help us get new content into the game.
What kind of programmers are we looking for?
We're specifically looking for C++ programmers, people who have experience writing C code, C++ code, and who really understand kind of how game development was before all those crazy engines came along and broke everything.
And, of course, there's the technical artists that we're looking for, as Trent mentioned.
Yep.
And so these people working on Neverwinter and Infinity, they're going to get to work on the old engine, of course, but they're also going to get to do new and exciting things that I will not delve into in any detail right now.
And the other thing is keep your eyes open for the 2.5 updates coming for all of the Infinity Engine stuff. They're going to be sweet. We're going to have good, solid versions, cross-platforms, cross-platform compatible. It's going to be swell.
So patches are coming, folks. We will continue to work on our games. We hope that you will continue to play them. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next Friday.
Toodle.